Let us discuss Hannah's views on human rights. On human rights. She thought of human rights also in terms of relationship between men. Relationship between men. Human rights don't exist individually for a human being. So it is between men. So she's thinking of human rights also in terms of plurality. Plurality. Arising in terms of relationship between men. Okay. So they don't exist individually. So that is one. And next she takes human rights are what are agreed upon rather than somehow natural, intrinsic, not like that. And because they are agreed upon, action should be taken to preserve them. Action should be taken to preserve them. So this is her conception of human rights. The only given condition for the establishment of rights is the plurality of men. Rights exist because we inhabit the earth together with other men. No divine command derived from man's having been created in the image of God. No natural law derived from man's nature are sufficient for the establishment of a new law on earth. For rights spring from human plurality. And divine command or natural law would be true even if there existed only a single human being. This is from The Burden of Our Time. Okay. So, human rights exist in relationship. And here she discusses who should implement these human rights. She observes that these human rights are related to, are linked to nation. Nation is giving citizenship and human rights are protected through rights of citizens. In India, for example, fundamental rights are given through citizenship. Of course, some are given even outside citizenship. But essentially, you have a nation, and nation is giving membership to people, they become citizens, and citizens are having human rights. Which means that nation is giving human rights. She says soon after there is a declaration of human rights, what happened historically was that nations also were given sovereignty. So this raises the question that if the nation is not honoring human rights of its citizens, what should the world do? Persecuting its minorities. What should the world do? Hannah takes the position the entity that should give human rights or rights to man is humanity itself and not a nation. So she takes the position that it is the responsibility of the humanity to take care of human rights. It is not the responsibility of a nation. Nation cannot be given overriding importance in implementing the human rights. She personally suffered loss of citizenship. She had been living for years as a stateless person without any rights. So she felt people should not be subjected to such a situation. So she takes certain crimes, not crimes against certain individuals, rather crimes against humanity. See, the right to have rights or the right of every individual to belong to humanity should be guaranteed by humanity itself. And in her Eichmann in Jerusalem, she wrote crimes against Jews as crimes against humanity. She felt they should have fallen under the jurisdiction of an international tribunal. And on saying that the nations should not take away the human rights, she wrote, the Russian concentration camps in which millions are deprived of even the doubtful benefits of the law in their own country could and should become the subject of action that would not have to respect the rights and rules of sovereignty. So, human rights are more important than national sovereignty, and national sovereignty should not come in the way of protection of human rights. So this is her view on human rights. And then there are certain concepts she uses in a particular way that we need to know. For example, labor, work, action. And another concept is power. Labor, work, and action are used by Hannah in a specific way. Humans have three types of activity fundamental to them: labor, work, and action. Labor corresponds to biological life of human being as a member of species. Labor is done to maintain life. Producing food is labor. Okay. And the products of labor are consumed. Bread is consumed. Whereas work is the activity which produces artificial things in the world. This computer is the result of work. This is also consumed, but it can stand for a long time, independent of the one who produced. Work is long lasting, and work is finished. Labor is not finished. Labor is an unending activity. It's a continuous activity. Work is something that is finished. Okay. Hannah wants to say that people in contemporary world are more concerned about labor and work and not action. What is the action for her? Action is about an aspect of expression. See, the only activity which goes on directly between men without the intermediary of things and matter corresponds to the human condition of plurality. Plurality being the fact that men and not man live on the earth and inhabit the world. Plurality is the condition of all political life. Romans use the word to live and to be among men interchangeable. Each person is different. We are all the same, that is human, in such a way that nobody is ever the same as anyone else who ever lived, lives, or will live. With each birth, something uniquely new comes to the world. Totalitarianism destroys plurality. So, Hannah thinks each is distinct and communication between them, or action or speech or writing to influence the other, that is action. It is not about producing things. Writing a book is action. Calling for a revolution is action. Calling for social change is action. Influencing decision making is action. Man is expressing himself. Public spiritedness is action. So she thinks labor at one level, work at another level, action another level. And as society is becoming more consumerist, societies are absorbed in labor and work and not in action. That is her concern. So the action can be contemplative, it can be political, anything. And she, so this is her way of using these words. She also uses the word power differently. Power to Hannah is not authority and not domination. She uses power in the sense of empowerment of the people for concerted action. See, individuals acting together with a common purpose could create a new space of tangible freedom in the world, relying on nothing more than the power implicit in their own mutual promises and agreements. Power differs from domination when people join themselves together for the purpose of action. Ability to act in concert. It is a condition of politics. So, which means when human rights are violated, or likely to be violated, people should get together and act in defense of their rights. Okay. And before we end, Hannah, being a Jew and at one time a strong supporter of Zionism, withdraw her support to Zionism and did not support the way Israel was being formed. She wrote about, she said that a Jewish state was being created at the expense of Palestinians. She wrote about the need for Arab-Jewish cooperation, without which the whole Jewish venture in Palestine is doomed, and also such a cooperation would show the world that there are no differences between the two people that cannot be bridged. Okay. And she calls this like conquest of state by the nation. I mean, sense of belonging is, and so the concept of we is becoming more important than being a member of agreed upon political community, which is a state. So she says conquest of the state by the nation and reducing human rights to natural national rights had proved catastrophic. Citizenship should go beyond nationality. So these are her views on nation, citizenship, human rights, and power.